In Connor and in Dylan when you heard the news?
Yeah, I was very disappointed on first hearing about it, but it was a few months ago now, and they have done every single thing that you would expect of them since then, and so there's a big part of us that have moved on, but we understand that they made some really poor decisions, but we heard about it while they were still there, still in the middle of it, and they've kept us in the loop the whole way through. And we've had some conversations behind closed doors about our expectations and standards of behaviour. But to their credit, every moment before and every moment since, they've acted in a way that you would hope that they would as representatives of this football club, of the game itself, of their own families. I think overall they're really good young lads, and they. The decisions you make will dictate the life you lead, and this is a little hard patch for their lives because of some decisions they made.
There is breaking news this Tuesday night with Mitch Cleary revealing that Hawthorn pair Dylan Moore and Connor Macdonald spent the night in an Arizona lockup after being arrested late last year when drunken hijinks fell the wrong side of the law. There are trespassing charges that are still pending to be heard later this year, and it cost Moore the vice-captaincy at the Hawks. What are your first thoughts, Gary Lyon?
Hello, Jared. Rookie mistake, I'd say, from a footy club that gets most things right. This was needed to be addressed first night back of pre-season, post-Christmas. Put them both up in front of the media, explain what happened. These two knuckleheads have done this. He's going to lose the vice-captaincy as a result of it, which is serious enough. And they've got 6 weeks to win back some respect. To think they can hide it or hold it back. So here we are on the eve of a big Friday night game, having dropped their first game, and the news comes out and we've got to deal with it. So had they done that, the Australian Open takes the headlines, they go off and get training and we don't worry about it. And look, it's not a hanging offence, but they've made it blue and bad blue, and Hawthorn have exacerbated it by trying to keep it quiet. Rookie error. So Will Day is part of our Players' Night tonight. Just tonight's breaking news before we delve any further. Were you aware of the Dylan Moore, Connor Macdonald's night in a jail cell in Arizona before today?
Yeah, I was aware, yep. And I, as a mate, ahead of a teammate, was just trying to help them through it all and help them sort of get through what they were going through. So, yeah, I was. It's been costly for Dylan, hasn't it, in particular? Yeah, I think so, but at the end of the day, it's all out now and he can sort of move on, and he's still a great leader within our club, and I don't think too many people that know him are going to change their view on him as a person.
We've got a big breaking story about some off-season arrests at Hawthorn. You've spoken to the club tonight.
That's right. So Dylan Moore getting drunk and climbing on a scissor lift when he was having some pre-season training in the American off-season would normally just be another example of players behaving badly in America. He and Connor Macdonald were charged with trespass. Moore was then stripped of the vice-captaincy. He was fined by Hawthorn. But there are a couple of complicating layers to this one. So Hawthorn chose to keep this one under wraps to most of their players and certainly their members until it was exposed tonight. And Moore was initially hit with a drug paraphernalia charge, which was then dismissed. So, Corbin, let's go through it. Let's start with the club concealing this issue. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, they missed a trick big time. I mean, there was an opportunity in November or December or whatever it turned out to be to put this story out. And you can imagine, say, for example, if it's on the same night of a test match or whatever it turns out to be during an Ashes series where there's great interest. And I'm sure we certainly wouldn't be talking about it between games. And there's even a great comparison here to the way Richmond dealt with McKelty-Lafau, which was swift. And I guarantee you there's no one at Tigerland answering questions today about McKelty-Lafau's incident before their first game of the year. So there's no putting out the trash in round one. So the Hawthorn view on this one is that both players had those trespass charges, which they need to address in coming months. They've completed an alcoholic seminar, and so potentially those charges will be not dismissed, but they'll be able to move through those quite quickly. But they knew that as they dragged on, they didn't really want them to impact on their mental health. The funny issue is that this has now been seen as a burden off Moore's shoulders. He was really actually battling with it, so it's probably been a positive for him. So the drug paraphernalia charge is part of the AFL's slippery slope. So he was not charged with drug use. The paraphernalia charge has now been dropped. We must be really specific about that one, so we don't know the details of that one. But broadly, the AFL's illicit drug code does not kick in the off-season. Players are hair tested if there are positive results in regards to that one. Then they're target tested across the season, so who knows what will happen there. So he loses the leadership position, he gets fined the community service. It's a big price, but I think it's a very fair price for Dylan Moore.
It is an interesting one. They'll be back at the club tomorrow. I know there's a training session. Sam Mitchell's set to have his press conference, but just a little bit of a murky one, wasn't it, with how it played out? My understanding was that there was a bit of a rushed Zoom meeting late today when the news of the story was about to break. So some players obviously only finding out in the hour in the lead up to the story breaking. So it is an interesting one, isn't it? And just, I guess, raises questions about how clubs handle these things.
4 months after an arrest in Arizona, Dylan Moore has come clean.
Yeah, I was in the US. I was out having a few drinks and made a foolish mistake, decided to get on a scissor lift, and next thing I know, the cops are there telling me to get off, and I got off, and the next thing I know is I'm in police custody.
While a drug paraphernalia charge was dismissed, trespassing charges are pending. Dylan Moore and Conor Macdonald will face an Arizona court later this year. Moore in July, Macdonald in August.
Yeah, it's something that I'll always regret. A foolish mistake has led into a night in a jail cell and many regrets.
This has now been seen as a burden off Moore's shoulders. He was really actually battling with it, so it's probably been a positive for him.
I, as a mate, ahead of a teammate, was just trying to help them through it all and help them sort of get through what they were going through.
The incident during a pre-season training camp has cost Dylan Moore the Hawks' vice-captaincy.
It's a big price, but I think it's a very fair price for Dylan Moore.
All out now, and he can sort of move on, and he's still a great leader within our club, and I don't think too many people that know him are going to change their view on him as a person.
It's not a hanging offence, but they've made it blue and bad blue, and Hawthorn have exacerbated it by trying to keep it quiet. Rookie error.
The incident occurred in Phoenix, Arizona in November, yet the footy world is only finding out now in March.
This has needed to be addressed first night back of pre-season, post-Christmas. Put them both up in front of the media, explain what happened. These two knuckleheads have done this. He's going to lose the vice-captaincy as a result of it, which is serious enough. And they've got 6 weeks to win back some respect.
Yeah, they missed a trick big time. I mean, there was an opportunity in November or December or whatever it turned out to be to put this story out. And you can imagine, say, for example, if it's on the same night of a test match or whatever it turns out to be during an Ashes series where there's great interest. And I'm sure we certainly wouldn't be talking about it between games.
Just a little bit of a murky one, wasn't it, with how it played out? My understanding was that there was a bit of a rushed Zoom meeting late today when the news of the story was about to break. So some players obviously only finding out in the hour in the lead up to the story breaking.
Moore and Macdonald both received financial penalties from Hawthorn, but played in their opening round loss to GWS.
The very first conversations were, how can we help? What do we need to do here? Because we're obviously halfway around the world, and they're not in a position they want to be in, and not sure what the protocols are and who we need to talk to and how we need to look after them in that moment. So the very first conversations were about how do we get out of this as best we can. Once a little bit of the original dust settles, then we have a couple of eyeball conversations about standards of behaviour and expectations. Once those are understood and pretty clear, to be fair, then there's nothing about it's not like this is a lingering thing from us. I know for you guys this is the first time you're exactly where we were 4 months ago. With this is enormously disappointing, and we were there, but now we've moved forward.
Were you in America at the time, or were you back in?
No, I was here. Yeah.
How much of a say did you have in Dylan losing the vice captaincy?
I don't think of that specific, like you guys have drawn that conclusion. The thing I would say is Jai was the right person to be the co-captain of the club, and this is a regardless situation. So even without this, Jai was the right person to go in to be a co-captain with James. And how Dylan's position came about was it became a bit more obvious for us that he wasn't going to be as available in that area where we didn't think that was appropriate. So it didn't change the co-captaincy decision and the leadership model as a whole. And we don't have a formal leadership group in that way that some other clubs have. So Dylan is still a strong leader around our club, and he's still a player. If you watch our training and you watch him go about his business, he's still someone I hope people in our playing group follow.
As someone who's lived and breathed Hawthorn for such a long time, how real is the Essendon spite and the right bloke?
Yeah. In my early phase, it was when I first got to the club, it was something that had been around but wasn't as new. And then obviously there was the big line in the sand game, and it got reinvigorated. And there's been a few things over the journey, but I think Hawthorn fans in general, this is a game that they mark in the calendar as one they want to try to win, and we understand for us, and we've got, outside of the current situation, if you look at the actual football, we've got some work to do, and our players understand that what we put up last week is not going to get it done. So, it's Essendon, and that's fantastic. It's going to mean there's going to be 90,000+ there, and there's going to be more people watching and more eyeballs on it. But for us, we know the expectations on ourselves to be able to perform at this level, and this game is not what we produced last week.